So our friend Lois is here to visit, and she's been a High Spirits fan for quite a while, and been playing flute for. She loves flutes, and it's true.
It's true.
So we've been talking about things, and she had some questions, and the questions she had were really good. And so I said, well, let's turn that into a video, and everybody else wants to know some of this stuff as well. And one of the things that you wanted to do,
how to break out of my rut, playing the same thing over and over.
Right.
How to get past that.
Well, I remember when she said that, I went, oh my God, I do the same thing. It's just like everybody. I mean, when I'm playing with others and I watch others play, and they tend to play the same thing over and over, and it's just automatic because it's two things. One, it feels safe because you know how to do that, and it just becomes a habit.
Yes.
It's just part of the deal. So there are a couple of ways of doing it, of getting out of that rut by just coming up with new ideas. There are new ways of expressing yourself. And normally, we keep the third hole closed from in the top. So we play the scale with the third hole closed. Another way of doing that that's very different is having the fourth hole closed. Okay? Let's play that together.
Okay.
Has a totally different feel to it, and it's it has sort of a bluesy feel to it. Good, you caught on to that pretty quick.
I did.
No, nice.
Can we confess this is take two, and in
Okay,
take
okay,
one I
okay.
did mess it up.
Okay.
So we don't always get it right the first time.
We're talking authentic here.
Yes.
So that's one way of doing it. And one way to get out of it is play a song. You could play a very similar song that you normally do, but keep the fourth hole closed. And you'll notice it's a totally different energy, totally different feel. And it's really cool. It's simple, really. Another way of doing that is, and that was kind of has a blues feel to it. There is a note, one particular note in the regular pentatonic scale by keeping the third hole closed. There's a note in there that's very bluesy. Whenever you play that note within a song, it has a feeling of blues, and that's this particular note right here.
Catch up with you.
Do it again. Okay, so now we're going to play up and down the scale, and then we'll play that note. So incorporating that particular note in any song, it kind of has more of a very moody, bluesy feel to it.
I can hear that.
Kind of a real bluesy feel to it. Yeah. So incorporate that in, and that's the note right here. It's just close that whole middle hole and then play off of that. And the other note that most people don't play, and it's actually a part of the scale, is to play the highest note that you possibly can play on this flute, which is playing the scale. So you're opening up the top two holes and closing, there you go. But you have to tongue that note really hard to get it clean. Go ahead and try it. Good. Perfect. So let's play the scale from the bottom up and then end in that note.
Okay.
that note is actually part of the scale, except that most people don't play it. And I think part of the reason is because they're so used to not really hitting the tongue hard. So, because if you don't do it, it sounds lazy. It's kind of, it doesn't really work. But if you hit it, da 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 da. Let's try it together.
Okay.
Good. So, and you tongued it just the right amount, just nice, and you can't be lazy with it.
No.
Boom.
It's like a good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just throw it in there just because I'm playing something and I'm all of a sudden it's like I'm getting kind of bored with my playing. I just throw the note in there and it breaks me and it breaks the note, brings the song up. Like. Oops. What it does, it for me, it allows me to kind of just get something new going, you know what I mean? Because I normally don't incorporate it very frequently, but I use it every once in a while just to break up a song, to put some new energy into it. So, you know, all these things that we were just talking about, one of the ways to really make that happen, and you and I talked about it yesterday, and is to play in front of the mirror. I can't tell you how valuable that is. I still do it, especially when I'm catching myself playing the same thing over and again. I go, play in front of a mirror, and it really makes a difference because I watch myself and I'm seeing all the notes that I'm not playing, and it forces me to, okay, well, let's try this note, let's try that note. I don't use that note very much, but I saw it in the mirror and I go, like, now I will start using it. Or even when you're kind of playing these new notes that we were talking about, the high octave note, or you know, playing the fourth hole closed, do it in a mirror, because plus seeing things in the mirror, the visualization of it will enter your brain a little bit easier, so you adapt a lot quicker.
Nice.
I hope that helped.
That helps. Thank you.
Oh, good. So Lois reminded me of the fact that there was one more thing, and we were just talking about it as we're kind of playing around with the flute. There's one more aspect to learning something different when you get into a rut. And it's actually a very simple technique. And I said, oh, you know, we got to continue our video on this. And interestingly enough, it is, right now we play the scale, right? And I have the habit, and I've seen quite a few people have it, is to end the note, end a flute, or a song, I should say, at the bass note. So one of the techniques that we talked about is to never close the bottom hole.
Yes.
Okay, so this flute is based, the native flute is based on a pentatonic scale. Penta meaning five notes. But it's based on a minor pentatonic. And minor is sort of you described it.
Contemplative.
Contemplative, I love that. And I was going to say moody, but
Yeah.
contemplative is much more accurate. Has a very contemplative feel. You end on it. Da 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 da. It's very relaxing. Okay. Now, built into the flute is what they call the relative major scale, meaning that somehow those two scales, I can't tell you how, but they're related to each other, okay? So an A minor pentatonic scale is related to a C major pentatonic scale. Don't ask me why or how, but they are. And they're built into the flute, into the scale. If you never ever close the bottom hole, you are playing the relative major scale. And the way to do that is to, it's going to be hard not to make this, to make it happen, but what happens with major scales, they're very upbeat. I mean, you experience that. There's sort of, you're ending up on a, here's how it sounds. Da 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 da, as opposed to da 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 da. And so contemplative, it's very upbeat.
Yeah.
So,
Bouncy.
yeah, bouncy. It
Bouncy.
has an energy to it.
Yes.
So go ahead and try it. So there are still 5 notes, okay? But there's only 4 that we're playing right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's the 5th one? It's this one right here. And we talked about that note in the previous video about playing that high tone note. And what that is your high C. That is the high tone of the major scale. So do it again. So it's really simple. Just don't ever close that bottom hole. And as a 5th hole, you're playing that high note that we talked about before. So it gives you it gives a totally different feeling to the song. If I play a song. Very different ending. So, da, 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 as opposed to do, 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 do. So one makes you want to lay down, the other one makes you want to get up. Yeah. So that's pretty much a good way to describe a major and minor
like,
scale. So anyway, we wanted to inject that because that was one more technique. So hopefully that'll be helpful as well.